Welcome back, everyone. Today I bring you a match that I played for Taça de Aveiro, a competition with some clubs. So it was a team competition, and I got paired up against João Pedro Almeida from Colégio Português. So a 1934 rated player, according to FIDE, by the time that we had this match. And yeah, I was playing in board 4, just so you guys understand. There's like 4 boards. Board 1 is the strongest, so people that are the strongest play in board 1, and people that are the weakest in the teams normally play board 4. And yeah, I was the weakest from my team, and yeah, I was paired up against the 1900, so it was very tough. But I knew going into it because we were playing with the main teams, and yeah, it's tough. But I was very happy that Galich, my club, gave me the opportunity to play in this competition and play in board 4. I was very happy, and yeah, it was also my first time representing the team in the team competition. So yeah, it was very important for me to perform well. So I had the black pieces. My opponent had the white pieces, and he started with d4. I went d5, knight f3, knight f6, and c4. So here, I just played e6, and I was expecting him to go for g3, bishop g2, and just the Catalan, because yeah, I feel like he played that a lot from the games that I've watched from him. Also, by the way, just a quick note, I'm gonna experiment with this type of layout, showing the good moves, bad move, etc. I would like to know if you guys like this type of format, or if you prefer the other one that I used to do without this extra, indication of the moves. But yeah, please write down in the comment section down below if you prefer this way or the old way, and yeah, I'll make sure to read your feedback. So yeah, let's keep going. So after e6, my opponent played bishop g5. So yeah, I played bishop e7, and he played knight c3. So we transposed into a qgd, queen's gambit declined, and now I was in familiar territory after knight c3. So I was happy to see that. So I go h6, he goes bishop h4, I castle, and he goes e3. So we're following just theory up until move 7. Now I go knight bd7, what I normally do in these lines. My opponent goes rook c1, still following the book. I go c5. c5 is not the main move, but I like c5, just blasting open the center and creating already a lot of tension, and asking my opponent, what do you want to do about the center tension. So my opponent captures on d5. I capture back with the knight to keep the structure intact here. Very important. Capture with the knight. My opponent captures the bishop on e7. I capture back with the knight, and my opponent captures on c5. I capture back on c5 with the knight. My opponent trades queens and plays b4. So yeah, up until trading queens, yeah, I was very comfortable with this position. It's pretty much symmetrical, not a bit in terms of pawn structure, and I guess like we are equally developed, and yeah, it's pretty much equal. It's gonna be an interesting middle game, just a typical queen's gambit decline middle game. But here my opponent played b4, and actually b4 kind of caught me by surprise, because I wasn't expecting this move, b4. I was expecting him to just develop the bishop to e2, and here I have an important decision to make. Pretty much b4 kind of provokes me into playing knight d3 check and picking up the bishop. So yeah, knight d3 check. I'm forking the king and the rook, so he would have to take my knight and I would take back with the rook. But what I didn't like about this was that I would actually give him I would allow him to develop his pieces very rapidly, and I would be behind in development, and I didn't like that. So let's put it on the board what I calculated and I didn't like. Knight d3 check, bishop takes on d3, rook takes on d3, king e2, rook d8, and then a quick rook h d1. And here I didn't really like my position that much because he's fully developed. His king is well placed in the center, ready for an endgame. His knights are very well placed on c3 and on f3. His rooks are occupying the open files, and I still have to develop my bishop and my other rook. So I didn't like this, but actually the engine says that after bishop d7 everything is fine. Let's say knight e5 looks very much like a natural move, and here the computer just says just chill out, bishop e8. And I mean, if someone is better, it's not no one's better, it's just completely equal. And apparently with this maneuver of bishop d7 bishop e8, even though he's more active, I'm chilling. My rooks are connected, my bishop on e8, that's like a normal square for this type of QGD positions. And my knight is chilling on e7, and I mean, it's fine. But I didn't quite see that this was fine. I kind of stopped after rook d1. I just thought that I was way behind in development, and I didn't see sufficient compensation for allowing all this activity for the bishop, just for the bishop. So after b4, I decided to drop back to d7, which is completely fine. As you can see, the computer doesn't really see a problem with this. It keeps more pieces on the board, if anything. My opponent plays bishop e2. I go knight f6 here, castles, bishop d7, and my opponent plays knight e5 here, attacking the bishop. Here I probably should have played something like bishop e8, going with the normal QGD style of developing the light square bishop. But in the game I decided to play knight c6, offering a trade of knights, where if he took the knight on c6, I took back with the bishop. I would be very happy with this resulting position. But my opponent after knight c6 dropped back to d3, so he didn't want to take my knight or my bishop. He just wanted to keep pieces on the board, which is completely reasonable. And here I played knight e7. So this is a sign that this is a sign of weakness, honestly, repeating the position. I was a little bit confused on how I wanted to actually develop. I just kept thinking about bishop f3, pressuring b7, and I didn't really want to have my knight on c6. If I have my knight on c6, it's to trade, and I didn't like the knight on c6, so I repeated. I was happy to take a draw against a 1900. If he wanted to repeat moves like this, I would be more than happy, but I knew that he wouldn't do that because he's way higher rated than me. So here after knight e7, he played knight c5, going after my bishop again and the pawn on b7. So here I started actually feeling a little bit of nerves and pressure because I just realized that I didn't really know how to develop correctly, and I was a little bit gasping for air. But I played b6, attacking the knight, and he played knight b7. So his knight really coming into my position, and I kind of felt like I definitely did something wrong, because I just knight c6 and knight e7, like just repeating those moves is just doesn't really accomplish anything. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate. But after knight b7, I still hang on with rook dc8. My opponent plays knight d6, so the knight is really well placed on d6, just looks like a monster. I play rook c7 here, and my opponent plays bishop f3. It just felt better here, and my opponent goes as knight b5, knight c b5, and yeah, this is a lot of pressure in my position. As you can see, these pieces are just way more active. Like, look at these pieces and look at mine. I mean, these pieces just, if you look at this, I mean, you have to think like white should be way better, right? But actually the computer says that nothing is going on and it's completely equal. And that's kind of fascinating. How can this be equal when he's so active? But really, I can dodge every threat that he has, and I can slowly just ease the pressure by trading pieces. And that's what I do. I trade on c1, he captures back with the rook, and I play a6, which actually the computer says it's a mistake. But let's be honest, I mean, he's attacking the pawn on a7, the computer wants knight e8, but I don't want to just give up the pawn like that. So I play a6, which is fine still, even though the computer says it's like a small inaccuracy, it's not a big deal. He plays knight c7, just look at these knights, right? My pawn on a6, and now I want you guys to pause the video and try to find what would you play with the black pieces. I felt like I played a really, really good move that kind of solves my problems, because yeah, you have to do something about all these pieces, white pieces coming into the position, and also the pawn on a6, and yeah, it just feels like you don't have really much air to breathe. And yeah, pause the video, guys, and try to find a way to play here for black that solves your problems. In this position, I played a move that I'm very proud of, the amazing bishop c6. A very, very good move that pretty much forces a lot of exchanges of pieces, which it is something you want to do when you have less space. So what is really going on? Bishop c6. It looks like I'm just losing a piece, right? Not really. What can white really do about this? There's a lot of pieces hanging. First of all, I'm attacking the knight on d6 with the rook. I'm attacking the bishop on f3 with my bishop on c6. And here, you know, if my opponent takes with the rook, it's just a big blunder because I can just take with the knight, right? And if he takes here on a6, it's also a big blunder. I can take on d6 or even take on f3, and I'm doing fine. So here the only move is really to play bishop c6, taking the bishop. But now I get to play rook takes on d6, which is a very, very nice shot. And now he doesn't have time to take my pawn on a6. He doesn't have time for that because the bishop is hanging, so he has to go back with the bishop to f3. And now I get active with rook d2 on a2, and now I'm the one with the initiative and with the active rook and pieces. Honestly, like, my pieces are already good here. He goes a4, I go rook a2. I really want to capture the pawn on a4. My opponent plays b5, I take, he takes, and yeah, this position is yeah, the computer just really likes black, but yeah, I play knight d5, which apparently knight fd5 is a big mistake that actually loses my advantage. Here the computer says g5, but yeah, I didn't want to allow bishop c6. Like, I didn't want to allow this at all, so that's why I played knight d5, to not allow the bishop to come to c6. Played natural moves g3 to kind of get rid of back rank problems. here. And yeah, I played rook b2, attacking, putting pressure on the pawn on b5. My opponent plays bishop e4, but here I played g6. I just don't want to allow any of those tricks on my king. And yeah, he played bishop d3, protecting the pawn on b5. So here we were starting to get low on the clock for sure, and the pressure was definitely mounting up. And yeah, we had to find some good moves here. Played rook b3, attacking the bishop, and he traded the knights and played rook c8 check, played king g7, and my opponent played bishop f1. So defending his bishop, retreating it to a safe square, and also keeping this protection on b5. And now I played knight c3, and my opponent played rook c6. And here I find a really nice tactical resource that just liquidates the position and allows me to reach the position that I want. So after rook c6, I play knight takes on b5, and this just looks like a blunder, because after rook takes on b6, it looks like I'm just gonna lose my knight. I mean, the knight is pinned to the rook, and he's attacking it twice with the bishop and with the rook. So how do you actually save your position? So there's only one move, and thankfully I saw this all before playing knight c3, which is knight d4, which chess.com says that it's the brilliant move of the game, knight d4. And yeah, it's kind of brilliant to see that from a distance. So I'm glad I did that. And here, the knight is hanging, but the rook is also hanging. And if he takes my rook, I just take back with the knight, and it's GG's. We can just shake hands and agree to a draw. So my opponent doesn't trade. He goes rook a6. I go knight f5. My opponent goes rook a7. I go rook b2. Bishop c4 by my opponent, and he's threatening to take on e6. Yeah, nasty threat, because the rook is pinning the f pawn. So I just play king f8, just dodge that trick. He plays rook a3 here, and I play rook d2. So yeah, here, I mean, my opponent was really trying to create something and to complicate the position. I was definitely comfortable here. I thought that I really just was in really good shape to hold this. And yeah, we were starting, as I said, we were kind of below like 7 minutes maybe. I think we were below that. So yeah, we were already playing on low time for sure. But the position is not that complicated. King g2, knight d6 here, bishop d3, kind of blocking my rook, which is kind of annoying. Play rook b2, and my opponent plays king f3. So yeah, I was starting to, feel a little bit of the pressure, because I mean, I knew that my opponent was going to try to bring his king into the position and win this equal endgame, and I had to do something about it. And it's funny, because we don't really train these positions, because we just assume that, or at least I don't train these positions, and I believe that most people won't train these equal positions, because it just feels like there's nothing to play for. But trust me, when you are in a tournament game and you're playing against someone that's way higher rated than you, and you feel the pressure, you feel the nerves, sometimes this boring looking positions actually turn out to be really difficult to play and to be accurate and to hold, because just strong players can just feel that you are nervous and they just keep on pressing. So definitely something to keep in mind, maybe to train these positions against a really high rated computer, So if you can hold against a computer that's really high rated, like 3000 or something like that, I mean, you are in really good shape to hold this against like someone like a grandmaster or an international master. So yeah, something to keep in mind, and something that I'll be doing way more in the future, trying to play this equal type of end games slash middle games against a really strong computer. So here I actually do a trick. I tried this dirty trick. I'm not really a guy to play for dirty tricks, but I had to try this. I saw this and this was very nice. So knight b5 looks like it is a blunder, but there's actually something nasty behind it. So the point of knight b5 is rook a8 check, king g7, and now it just looks like the same type of position that we had a couple moves ago. My idea, the trap here was that this knight is hanging, right? Or is only defended by the rook and the bishop is attacking it. So my trap was for my opponent to play rook b8 here. And rook b8 is a huge blunder. It looks like I'm just winning a piece because, I mean, the knight can't really jump to protect the rook. There's no way for the knight to jump and protect the rook. But there's actually something nasty here, which is sacrificing the knight with check. Knight d4 here. The king is attacked, so he has to take the knight and then he loses the rook. But of course my opponent is strong. He is not gonna fall for that, and he just played h4. So I played h5, and after rook c8, I just play knight d6. Just be annoying, just attack his pieces and you know, just bore him to death pretty much. So yeah, here we shuffle the pieces, and here I shuffled the piece to g4, so I was very happy with my position. I mean, just look at my knight, and you know, it's just amazing. He goes king e2 here. I was kind of, you know, maybe he was threatening f3 or something like that. So I play knight e5. He goes e4, starting to push his pawns. You know, maybe he's threatening f4 in some position, but on f4 I can always play knight g4 back, so wasn't too worried about that. But I brought my my rook back with a threat of trading rooks. Very nice one. And my opponent played king e3. I don't know if he missed this or if he was just like, I don't care if I trade the rooks. But after rook c6, the rook trade is forced because I'm attacking his bishop and his rook. So we trade here, and after bishop d1, you know, I was like, it's just a draw, you know, there's nothing to be played for. But you know, my opponent didn't, like, he didn't want the draw. He really wanted to keep pushing for more, which I completely understand. I mean, after all, he's playing against someone that's like almost 400 points lower rated than him. So yeah, I play e5 here. My opponent plays f4, and here I play f6, and my opponent plays king d3. Here I was a bit nervous for sure. I mean, we were below, like, I think we had probably like 2 or 3 minutes on the clock, or 4 minutes, something like that. So yeah, there was definitely time pressure, and yeah, I was still not sure if this was an easy draw because this king is coming quickly into the position, and my knight kind of gets dominated by this bishop, you know, and it's tough. And here I play a really bad move that I really regret, which is just a completely choke, honestly. Like, it's just really bad. I play king h6, and my idea was to liquidate the pawns with g5 and trade a bunch of pawns, and in worst case scenario I would sacrifice my knight for his e-pawn or something like that. But I mean, I completely regretted this move after he played king c4, such a natural move. And now, I mean, he's so fast coming into my position with king c5 attacking my knight, and then I move my knight to somewhere, and he's gonna play um, king d5, king e6, and I was like, oh my god, did I really screw this position? Here I could just play king f7 and I would be more than fine, after something like a king c4. Here I can play, I don't know, king e7, king c5, and I don't know, this still feels uncomfortable, not gonna lie. Yeah, this still feels uncomfortable, to be honest, because I mean the computer wants knight d4, but takes, king d5. I mean, yeah, king f6 saves everything, and it's fine. I didn't actually see this, but yeah, this is crazy. Honestly, this is crazy, crazy. But yeah, I played king h6, and really asking to get punished. My opponent plays king c4. I realized that that king h6 was a big mistake, and I take on f4 first, and then I bring my king back to g7. So I just wasted the move with king h6 to go back to g7. So it was really bad. My opponent plays king d5. I play knight d8 here, and my opponent plays e5. I takes, and now he has a passed pawn on e5. So congratulations, Rick. You just made your life 10 times more difficult here to hold this position. Like, I was so pissed at my move. Was horrible for sure, but it is what it is. Here I played knight f7, and my opponent plays e6. And after e6, I was like, when you realize that you made a huge mistake, and your heart kind of stops for a second, and you feel really bad. And I was feeling like that because I mean, we were low on the clock. I didn't calculate any of this. I was just playing on pretty much instinct, and I thought that I was just gonna be toast here because I mean, my knight is running out of squares. His king is so close to the pawn. The pawn is on the 6th rank. Is gonna go to the 7th rank soon. This bishop is also like a monster and is protecting this square. So was very, 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 very nervous here, and yeah, I didn't really know what was going on. I played knight h6, trying to hold on to the position, and my opponent plays king d6. I play king f6, and now I'm kind of threatening to play knight f5 check and just always be around these squares. After king f6, king d7 by my opponent, and I play knight f5. My opponent plays bishop c2. I play knight e7, bishop e4 here. I play knight g8, and here after bishop f3, knight e7, I relax because okay, I'm completely drawing this position. It's all good in the neighborhood, and yeah, this is just a draw. There's nothing to be played, so I was very, very relaxed, and I was so happy. But yeah, we played for a few more moves, and yeah, here the thing is that if you know your endgames, after knight b6 check, I can just take the pawn on e6, and it's a draw, and that's what I did. I just took the pawn on e6, and if my opponent takes the knight, this is just a draw because I can just put my king on h8, and yeah, this endgame is a well-known endgame that it's a draw because this pawn is the wrong color of the bishop. This was a dark square bishop. This would have been a win for white, but because it is a light square bishop, I can always stay on this square h8 or g8, h8, g8, h8, and yeah, there's nothing to be done about that. But my opponent didn't take the knight, but yeah, he took the pawn, and after a few moves, we just like drew the game. There's nothing to be played, just a draw, and I was very happy to draw against such an higher rated player, and yeah, Was very happy. This was a very difficult game, 79 moves, and what a game. I was very happy with this result. Also, first time competing for the team. My team was proud of my result, and yeah, me too. Hope you guys enjoyed this and this video, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video. Bye bye.